We're live, sir.
Thank you. A very good evening to all of you. My name is Ashish Bharadwaj. I'm a professor at OP Jindal Global University and Dean of the Jindal School of Banking and Finance. It's a privilege and a pleasure for me to host this event today. We have a fantastic lineup of speakers. I welcome all the distinguished speakers, all the participants who've joined us today on this call, and all the viewers who are listening to this live on YouTube. I'm thrilled to be a part of this landmark event of the beginning of the India-Australia Global Education Initiative and the signing off of a strategic collaboration to establish the Jindal Deakin Educational Partnership between OP Jindal Global University from India and Deakin University from Australia. I'm happy to see that the two Vice-Chancellors, Professor Iain Martin, Professor Kumar, have joined today, along with His Excellency Iain Biggs, Dr. V.S. Chauhan, Dr. Pankaj Mittal, Ms. Ravneet Pahwa, Professor Colin Higgins, Sridhar Patnaik, our Registrar of JGU, Professor Shaun, Starr, and so many other colleagues from both institutions. I extend a very warm welcome to all of you, and I'll be introducing all of you briefly in a short while. With that, let me invite the founding Vice-Chancellor of OP Jindal Global University, Professor C. Rajkumar, to deliver his welcome address.
Thank you very much, Ashish. And once again, it is my proud privilege to extend a warm welcome to all our distinguished guests who are present here. In particular, I would like to welcome our collaborator and partner institutions, Vice-Chancellor, Professor Iain Martin, the distinguished colleagues from the Australian High Commission, Mr. Iain Biggs, as well as the Educational Counsellor, Ravneet Pahwa, Colin Higgins, as well as John Maloney, John Bolton, and Kian Selway from Deakin University. I also want to express my sincere gratitude to Professor Dr. Virendra Chauhan and Professor Dr. Pankaj Mittal for accepting our invitation. Thank you to my colleagues, in particular Shaun, Starr, and Ashish Bharadwaj, for working very hard to bring us to this day when we are going to celebrate the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between Deakin and Jindal Global University, but also to recognize the important role that the India-Australia higher education collaboration has been. Since the time is very short, I'm going to very quickly capture this moment. Let me begin by identifying the important role that India and Australia collaboration means to the larger context of Indian higher education as well as Indian society. First, we are both democracies. We deeply believe in the idea of democracy and representative government, including our strong commitment to building institutions that will help the functioning of democracy even possible. Second, both India and Australia are societies that are built on a strong belief in the rule of law. We have developed the rule of law traditions. We have independent courts, including a strong commitment to the principle of independence of judiciary, as well as our common law principles that govern both our legal systems also have brought together us much closer. The third aspect of both India and Australia is our deep and strong belief in diversity and pluralism. We believe in societies that will promote diversity and pluralism in all its forms and manifestations, and that has made India and Australia natural partners in our evolution. Fourth aspect of this special relationship between India and Australia is about both our countries and societies have given strong and substantive emphasis on education. The fact that our education institutions have been partnering together, the fact that Australia remains an important aspiration for young Indians to pursue higher education only emphasizes this particular role. And the fifth is something that Australia has recognized more strongly, which is the strength of Indian demography. The fact is over 850 million people in India are less than 35 years of age. The average Indian life expectancy at the dawn of independence was nearly 30s, and now it's grown up to 75. When most parts of the Western world will become older, most parts of Eastern world, including China and Japan, will become older, India will be younger, and hence India will be, and Indians will have this aspiration to get that high quality education in India and around the world, and Australia is a natural destination. And that is part of the Australian imagination, which is to be able to have universities that are truly world-class, that have been promoting excellence in their spheres. That's the first India-Australia context that I want to share with you. The second is the Jindal Deakin context. We are both multidisciplinary universities, although we don't do STEM education, but that's fantastically supported by Deakin University, which is a more comprehensive university, which has disciplines that focus on STEM as well. The second is that we both have strong emphasis on research and excellence and internationalization. Our commitment towards internationalization is reflected in everything that we do, and that's another reason why Jindal and Deakin has come together. The third is the fact that both Jindal and Deakin have done very well consistently in international rankings and global benchmarking efforts. In particular, the QS World Rankings of universities would serve as a testament to that fact. Fourth is that our mutual strengths that transcend beyond our commitment to excellence is that we are institutions which are dynamic, which are innovative, which are entrepreneurial, and which are collaborative, which has brought us together. And the fifth aspect is that the larger India-Australia regulatory and education system has favored us coming together. In particular, in the Indian context, the national education policy has given an impetus for the larger collaborations between Indian and Australian universities, in this case, OP Jindal Global University and Deakin University, to come together to build this partnership. Lastly, I want to focus a bit on why this particular Jindal-Deakin partnership. First, I think this particular partnership, as the details of which will be unraveled shortly, will fulfill a very important aspiration of Indian students to go abroad and to receive higher education while and in the course of their education in India. This fulfills a very important gap that currently exists in the larger context of Indian higher education. Second, the appetite and the aspiration to promote excellence in higher education that transcends the national boundaries. And that's a very important aspect because a large number of Indian students who intend to study abroad are not necessarily guided properly. They may not have the necessary knowledge and expertise and skills, even information that will take them to the right kind of institutions. The Jindal-Deakin partnership provides that pathway. The third aspect, which is something that Iain and I are very deeply committed to, which is about democratization of access to higher education in terms of both cost and opportunities. A large number of Indian students, I'm afraid, simply will not be able to afford to go abroad anywhere in the world, despite their very strong aspiration to seek that education. This particular Jindal-Deakin partnership creates a platform, creates an impetus, provides an opportunity, and actually promotes democratization of higher education by providing access to educational opportunities at Deakin at a significantly reduced cost and creates opportunities that hitherto didn't exist. Fourth, one of the things that we have very strongly emphasized in India now is that the importance that is given to postgraduate education, master's education for those students who intend to seek job opportunities in India or elsewhere. The future is going to be based upon our ability to have that expertise and knowledge and skills which can be transferred to those job opportunities. One of the things that the Jindal-Deakin partnership does is it creates pathways to pursue a world-class postgraduate master's education in Australia at Deakin University for those students who will be enrolled at Jindal. It creates a well-defined pathway, a plan that will enable the Jindal students, the Indian students who are going to be part of the program. And the last, I believe, which is a sign of our times, this partnership has recognized a very important role that blended and hybrid and online education can provide and fulfill certain aspects of the higher education, opportunities. It does not and cannot and will not, supplant what we all believe in the campus-based education, but it does supplement the opportunities that are already available in a physical campus ecosystem. So there are these, I would say, three aspects divided into 5 different objectives in each of those areas. I believe it will cement the relationship that we are establishing today. We are very excited that all the work that has undergone and by many individuals whose names I had already mentioned has culminated in what we are doing today. I would like to express my heartiest congratulations to the Deakin University and also my gratitude to the colleagues at our own university for working hard to make this happen. I would like to particularly thank the indefatigable Ravneet Pahwa for her leadership and her commitment and dedication, having spent significant number of years working for Deakin here in India to advance this relationship. With those words, once again, congratulations and thank you for all of your presence and participation in this event.
Thank you very much, Raj, for that comprehensive welcome address, which beautifully contextualizes this event as is going to unfold very soon. So with that, let me invite Professor Iain Martin, the Honorable Vice-Chancellor of Deakin University in Australia, for his introductory remarks.
Thank you so much, and it's an absolute pleasure to join you here this evening. It's never easy to follow Raj when he's speaking because he is so eloquent and passionate, but I think it encapsulates what we're about. Deakin's always had a focus on serving communities. When we were established, that was envisaged as a very local community, but absolutely now that has grown to have an international lens. We have many international facets to Deakin, but absolutely peak amongst those is the relationship with India, which is now nearly 3 decades long and has been has become part of the identity of Deakin University. Our students and staff over the years have gained so much from this pivotally important relationship. And as you said, there is so much that binds our two countries together, even though geographically we're a long way away. It's extraordinarily important to us. And I think in identifying the opportunities for this partnership, we saw a partner for whom it was equally important. The last year and a half has been challenging for many in the university system, but it's fair to say that we wouldn't be sitting here today without COVID. Because what COVID did, it gave Raj and I an opportunity to bump into each other at an online seminar where we both shared a very similar set of visions and ideas. And from that came the conversations around this. So there are some good things that have come from COVID. We've recognized that in working with India, for India, we have to do it with strong, collaborative, and strategically aligned partners. And there's no doubt in my mind that in OP Jindal, we found that partner. The establishment of this partnership is going to look at what is possible, not bounded by what we have done, but what we can do into the future. We're hugely excited about both the timing of this partnership, but also the opportunities. As Raj has said, democratizing higher education is so important. If we look to the future, the challenges that our communities face are going to require a well-educated, critically informed, superbly challenging workforce. And we think that working together, we can help deliver that. It's going to give new ways of learning and working together. And as we talk about in our Deakin strategic plan, the future of higher education is not moving fully digitally. It's bringing the best of the digital with the best of the physical into something that is distinctive. And that's what we're able to do with this approach. We look to sort of give an opportunity to students who might not have had the opportunity to have a true, engaging, quality transnational education. The pandemic has undoubtedly removed many of the opportunities that we've had for our students to explore the more traditional transnational education, a degree abroad, study abroad, but it has focused our minds on what we've been missing, but to say we don't simply want to recreate the past, we want to look to the future and what we can do differently. We're incredibly optimistic about next year and beyond. There is no doubt that COVID-19 has challenged the higher education sector. And I think through those challenges, it has enabled us to sharpen our focus on what matters the most. And I think those shared principles and values that Raj has talked about will underpin this collaboration and go forward. This partnership is absolutely part of both of our universities' social contract and commitment with government, academia, and industry, and most importantly, the population of India. It's absolutely aligned with your national education policy, and we believe it will contribute to the much needed skills and international experience for your future workforce. It's also a great value for us in bringing our two countries closer together. There's no doubt it will also boost the ongoing India-Australia education initiative. I'm so excited to be here this evening. And there are some times that in life you think you've done something on the right day. And to announce this on the evening when our Australian Prime Minister said this afternoon, next month, borders are going to reopen. And not only that, we're going to recognise the Indian COVID Shield vaccination to enable free travel between the two countries in the coming months. It couldn't be more auspicious. So thank you everybody who's contributed to getting us to here today. I look forward to welcoming the extremely lucky, but they're not really lucky, they're incredibly talented and hardworking students who will be part of these programs. And I look forward so much to being back in India to see you all and work with you to develop this further. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Iain, we might have just
Vice-Chancellor Mittal.
Iain, we might have just created a new record that for the first time in recent memory, we both have given speeches without using the cricket word. So congratulations for that.
Just for God's sake. leave something for us for God's sake.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor Martin, for that insightful introductory remarks. Let's move on with the program. It's time to introduce the core of this partnership, the framework of the JGU Deakin partnership that we have put together. And it's a pleasure to invite Ms. Ravneet Pahwa, Deputy Vice President, Global Engagement and CEO, South Asia, Deakin University, to reflect on that. And I will exercise my privileges as the moderator to give 1 extra minute to this segment, since it's the core of the entire partnership. Over to you, Ravneet.
Thank you very much, Ashish. A very good evening, everyone, to the two Vice-Chancellors, to my colleagues from Deakin, my colleagues from JGU, my colleagues from the High Commission, and our guests of honor. It's an absolute pleasure to be here today. And I have to say that the one thing that has worked very well for us, putting this whole thing together, is that, there is amazing sense of collaborative approach, mutual trust, and understanding of each other, which is why we have been able to do this in such a short period of time. When Iain and Raj met a couple of, I would say just a few months back, we agreed that we would do something like this, and here we are, where we are actually launching it, and we are, announcing it to the Indian market. So thank you all for your amazing work in putting this together. In our 27 years of engagement with India, we have had strong partnerships, but I believe that JADE, the Jindal Deakin Partnership, Education Partnership, is a very unique one because it brings all the elements of internationalization, excellence in education, training, research, commitment, and the hybrid approach of education together. JADE is unique in itself, and it is between two like-minded partners. This particular partnership is established to look at focusing around the internationalization of higher education, students commencing their studies in India and progressing to Deakin University in Australia. The partnership actually is looking at initially starting with an education program with the Global BCom, where students will study 2 years in OP Jindal University, which will be taught by Jindal faculty, supported by Deakin faculty. In the 3rd year, the students will transfer to Deakin University, and they will study the 1 year at Deakin University, and they will get Jindal University degree and a Deakin degree. They will then move into an integrated master's degree, which will be over the 1.5 years, thereby reducing their time and cost to study at Deakin University with an MBA international degree. So over a period of 4.5 years, the students will have 2 awards, a global BCom from Jindal University, a Bachelor's of Business from Deakin University, and a Master's of Business Administration International from Deakin University at a reduced cost, high excellence value, and with great international experience. So I think this is really one of its kind, basically focused around what the national education policy has been talking about and what my colleagues, Dr. Mittal and Professor Chauhan will agree, that coming together of two great universities to service Indian students in the time and manner that is in the best interest of the students is what is really, really important in this partnership. The other arm of this partnership is going to be around research, where we will be looking at setting up joint centers of excellence in areas of expertise and complementarity between the two universities. And I think we could start with areas of business, management, law, and social sciences. The third element of this partnership is around training and skill development, where JADE will offer products and solutions that will help skill and upskill learners in India with hybrid technologies so that they're able to get the best of both the worlds. This great initiative to build bridges, strive for connection and broaden the understanding and bring people together is unique to JADE itself. Our social contract, like my Vice-Chancellor mentioned with India, extends to our ability to teach, learn, and collaborate with the best minds in the world. The partnership is a testament of that. At Deakin University, we are extremely proud to collaborate with OP Jindal Global University and establish the OP Jindal Deakin Education Partnership. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ravneet. You've pretty much covered everything that this partnership is about. I'll add just a few more words. I'm actually even more excited about the fact that in this first phase of the partnership, the 8th school of our university, which is the Jindal School of Banking and Finance, is taking the lead in implementing this partnership and executing the vision of the two vice-chancellors. And they just articulated that. This partnership, in my understanding, promises to fulfill their vision of creating future leaders with enhanced international skills and a very evolved intercultural understanding of the world. And it aligns very well with the vision of our finance school at Jindal. I was very happy to learn that in the last 18 months, Deakin University offered tremendous support to all its students, including those from India, who are located both in India and in Australia. And this included support for enrollment in their academic study, financial aid, and very timely support for health and well-being, which demonstrates the extraordinary and very compassionate student-centric approach that Deakin has, which we're very attracted towards. At JGU, I'm happy to share that we had organized 50 plus COVID camps, testing camps, 8 plus COVID vaccination drives on campus for all employees and their family members. And we wish to continue with these efforts. Now, I think about 60% of the Deakin Business School faculty and about 50% of our finance school faculty have overseas professional or study experience, which is why they are very well suited to offer a very world-class international program arrangement, which involves, as Ravneet said, a very first in India global Bachelor of Commerce from JGU, very valuable Bachelor of Business from Deakin, and a very highly sought after MBA from Deakin as well. In fact, since last year, there has been fierce competition from various countries for Indian students. But I and a lot of my colleagues are absolutely convinced that Australia remains one of the most popular international education destinations for Indian students, especially in the areas that we work on: new age, commerce, technology-led finance, responsible business, and so on. And this popularity is indeed expected to grow as international mobility takes off once again. The COVID pandemic and its ongoing effects have taught us a lot. One lesson for us in the finance school is that learning about global commerce, doing socially responsible business really needs a new imagination now. We need to approach it in a very different manner. And this is why we curated a new program under this partnership, the Global BCom, because commerce going forward post-pandemic is not really going to be a luxury or a strategy for businesses. It is going to be a bigger necessity than ever before. Business leaders, as you all know, are scrambling to adjust to a new world few imagined possible just a year ago. In fact, the myth of a borderless world has indeed come crashing down, which is why global e-commerce market alone is now worth, I believe, $5 trillion. The Global BCom Honors, which we are launching under this partnership, is for a new India. It's for a new global economy that is built on stronger ties, deeper bonds, bonds of knowledge, a resilient global trade, and a very tech-led approach to business and education. So for students who will be enrolling in this program, in the JGU Deakin Partnership program, it's really all about learning new issues in a more holistic manner, including a variety of soft skills, which will be essential to more than 60% of the jobs by 2030. 2030, this is when the fourth cohort of students under this partnership are going to be graduating with 3 degrees, as Ravneet pointed out, and they are going to be joining a 12,000 plus strong alumni network of Indian students who have studied in Deakin and a very strong alumni network of JGU. So with that, let me once again congratulate everyone in my university, OP Jindal Global University, and everyone in Deakin for this significant partnership. Thank you. I'll move on to a very important part of the program, the signing of a strategic collaboration between our 2 institutions. So I will request the IT team to kindly unveil the agreement, the letter of intent that has been recently signed by the Vice-Chancellors. All right. Moving on with the program, I would like to invite my colleague, Professor Shaun Starr, who's an associate professor in Jindal Global Law School and director of Center for India-Australia Studies at JGU, for introducing the center and saying something about this partnership. Shaun has played a very, very important role and helped all of us. Shaun.
Thank you very much, Ashish, and good evening, colleagues and friends from across Australia and India. It's a pleasure to be here today as we sign what is quite an historic agreement between our 2 institutions. And as you all know, our 2 universities have had strong ties for some time, and this is an amazing stepping stone and that next big step forward in the relationship. Just because I've been tasked with speaking about the Centre for India-Australia Studies, I'll give a bit of further context about the Centre for India-Australia Studies at OP Jindal Global University. It was inaugurated by the former High Commissioner, by Harinder Sidhu, in 2016. So we've been going for a little over 5 years, and I just want to illustrate the journey that we've had in the last 5 years, because when I often joke that I could probably write a book entitled From Sydney to Sonipat, because there's quite a big difference between Sydney and Sonipat, where our campus is based. And you know, I was the only Australian citizen to be a member of faculty at the time that I joined OP Jindal Global University. And I remember sitting down with our Vice-Chancellor, Professor Sridhar Kumar, and the vision of the institution, the vision of the centre, and also of OP Jindal, of the university, was to really entrench this Australian imagination amongst our faculty and students. There was certainly an ignorance at the time, and probably still is to some extent within India, about the strength of Australia's education system. So we wanted to work hard in building that relationship and really entrenching that institutionally. And I'm proud to say that as of today, I'm no longer the only Australian at Jindal. We now have 8 Australians at Jindal as full-time faculty members. We have 27 full-time faculty members with degrees from Australian universities, including Deakin. And we have more than 30 alumni from Jindal who are based in Australia, which I find remarkable in our short history as a university. Along with that, as the Centre for India-Australia Studies, we've hosted almost 200 students on short-term immersion programs through the New Colombo Plan, including a number from Deakin University, mostly from the law school. We've hosted almost 200 faculty members from Australia, policymakers, former prime ministers, diplomats, business leaders, and invited them to our campus, exposed our students to these thought leaders from Australia. And we've really entrenched that vision, that imagination of what Australia has to offer on our campus, and more broadly, we hope, in India. And more recently, we've hosted internships with Australian institutions, including over the last 18 months, more than 120 internship placements of Indian students with Australian companies, albeit virtually due to the pandemic. But why I raise this is because it's all part of this important vision of building stronger ties between Australia and India with an education focus. I don't think this partnership could be more timely. We've got, of course, Peter Varghese India economic strategy, whereby education is really at the front and center in terms of the economic partnership. Of course, the comprehensive strategic partnership puts education there as well. It's already been mentioned, the importance and the relevance of the NEP with respect to foreign collaboration. So this collaboration, this integrated partnership that we're launching today is both timely and significant, as well as being an innovative partnership. And I think we'll build stronger and deeper ties, not only between OP Jindal Global University and Deakin University, but strengthen the collaborations and ties between the broader education partnership between Australia and India. So with that, I want to congratulate our two institutions and everyone involved, and I look forward to working with you all moving forward with this partnership. And I'll hand it over to the next speaker.
Thank you very much, Shaun. Before I invite His Excellency Iain Biggs, I'll very briefly introduce him. Mr. Iain Biggs is a diplomat and works for the Australian Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. Other than New Delhi, he has held senior diplomatic positions in Cairo, Riyadh, Damascus, Beirut, Vienna, Canberra, and Ankara. He has also served as Secretary for the International Commission on Nuclear Non-Proliferation and Disarmament. It's a very short introduction. I might have missed a lot of things, but with that, I invite Mr. Iain Biggs, Deputy High Commissioner of Australia to India, to share his reflections on the India-Australia bilateral.
It's a pleasure to join you all today to celebrate this great Australia-India education partnership. And as my namesake, Professor Martin, has already mentioned, this is such an auspicious day for the Australia and India relationship. The Australian Trade Minister and the Australian Commerce Minister have just relaunched the Comprehensive Economic Cooperation Agreement, our FTA, in New Delhi. And in Canberra, Prime Minister Morrison has today announced the imminent reopening of the Australian border and the recognition for travel purposes of India's Covishield vaccine. So thank you for the kind introduction, Professor Bharadwaj. And I would like to thank Professor Raj Kumar, Vice-Chancellor, Jindal Global University, Professor Iain Martin, Vice-Chancellor, Deakin University, Ms. Ravneet Pahwa, Deputy Vice President and CEO for South Asia of Deakin University, Professor Pankaj Mittal, Secretary General of the Association of Indian Universities, and Professor Shaun Starr, Director of the Centre for India-Australia Studies. After hearing about this one-of-a-kind association between two premier institutions of India and Australia, I am confident that it will have a positive and transformative impact in the international space over the higher education sectors of both countries. This alliance is an example of innovative learning. It will provide prospects for Indian students to gain international experience, to learn from the world-class educators and researchers from both institutions, and to become globally competent and globally employable. In June last year, 2020, our Prime Ministers Modi and Morrison met in a virtual summit where our bilateral relationship was elevated to a comprehensive strategic partnership. Our Prime Minister said, and I'll quote, "We will share the benefits of scientific and medical research and development, strengthen healthcare systems, and reflect on the recommendations of the independent and comprehensive evaluation of the international health response to COVID-19 to improve capacity for global pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response." End of quote. This partnership matches such aspirations precisely. India's new national education policy, the NEP, which has also been mentioned, is another perfect opportunity for Australia and India to continue developing these important partnerships. With the CSP, the NEP, and the Australia-India Education Council, which is set to have its 6th meeting in the next 6 months, the policy framework is now in place for the true internationalization of education between our nations. Education, research, and skills are key pillars of the India-Australia relationship, and the governments of both countries are encouraging cooperation for greater partnerships and opportunities between Australian and Indian industry and institutions. I'm happy to note engagement with India through bilateral and multilateral policy exchange and collaboration, transnational education and research partnerships, which have continued at a steady pace. The 9,000 plus joint research publications since 2017, perhaps 500 institutional linkages, and bilateral activities, including policy exchange and transnational education architecture under the Comprehensive Strategic Partnership, demonstrate a richness in our education engagement. Education underpins the progress of both our nations, and as India continues its ambitious higher education reform agenda, there are many opportunities for collaboration with Australia. There are many elements that make India and Australia natural partners in knowledge creation, innovation, and research. We share the same challenges of changing climate, the growth and impact of new technology, and the evolution of work. Australia's globally recognized universities and research agencies make valuable partners for Indian institutions and researchers to tackle these global issues. To keep the momentum of partnerships going, last month, the Australia-India Researcher Cooperation Hub, ARCH India, developed with Australian government funding to the Australia-India Institute, was also launched. The virtual portal will support researchers in building new connections and new collaborations. It will facilitate short and long-term collaborative research projects between Australian and Indian researchers with increased awareness of both countries' research strengths. I encourage everyone to register on that portal and take advantage of the new opportunities. These are challenging times, but they've taught us perseverance and shown us immense opportunities. I do encourage young Indian students and India's institutions and businesses to look for opportunities to engage with their Australian counterparts in study and research, especially in areas of mutual benefit to our nations. The pandemic has accelerated some innovations and spawned others. It has caused institutions such as Jindal and Deakin to sharpen even more their portfolios of delivery models and areas of study. The confluence of the India-Australia Comprehensive Strategic Partnership and the new education policy and the Australia and India economic strategies have helped create the ecosystem to support innovative collaborations such as this Jindal and Deakin Education Partnership, or JADE, as we must learn to call it. Now more than ever, the strength and momentum of the India and Australia relationship is critical, and our education systems are becoming increasingly aligned. So congratulations again to both Deakin and Jindal universities on this wonderful partnership, and thank you for this opportunity to speak to you on, let me say it again, this most auspicious day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Biggs, for that, for those thoughtful reflections on the India-Australia bilateral relations and the potential of this partnership. Thank you very much. Now, moving on with the program, before I invite Professor Dr. Pankaj Mittal to deliver a special address, I'll very briefly introduce her. Dr. Mittal is the Secretary General of the Association of Indian Universities, AIU, and the second female Secretary General of the Association in its 96 years of existence. Dr. Mittal has been serving in the Indian education space for more than 3 decades, including at the apex body University Grants Commission of India and as the first Vice-Chancellor of BPS Mahila University, the first rural university, first rural women university of North India. Over to you, Dr. Mittal.
Thank you, Ashish. Thanks for a very generous introduction. First of all, I would like to compliment Professor Kumar, the Vice-Chancellor of Jindal Global University, and Professor Iain, the Vice-Chancellor of Deakin University, for entering into a partnership which will be very, very beneficial to the Indian students I've seen the Jindal Global University growing from like when it was born about 12 years ago, and now that it is about to enter into its teenage. It's only 12 years old, so it will be entering teenage just this year. And in these 12 years, I have seen the way the university has grown. It has been the first, it is having the first best law school in India. It is having, even if you talk of international rankings, it is amongst the top 100 law schools in India. If you talk of, say, young universities, young means young in the context of QS is 50 years and yet less, but it is much, much younger than that. So less than 50 years university, it is in top 150. The student teacher ratio is very good, 1:9, 8,000 students, something like more than 300 collaborations and 12 schools. So such a envious record which the Jindal has created, which has given it a status of institution of eminence by none other than the Ministry of Education of India. So it really shows that how Jindal has grown, and all the credit goes to its Vice-Chancellor, founder Vice-Chancellor, Dr. Kumar, because of his dedication, hard work, perseverance, and above all the vision for the university. The Jindal is doing so well. When the whole world was talking about the pandemic and they were saying that we're not able to do anything during the pandemic and education is taking a little bit of backseat, the Jindal was launching one program after the other. In the last 1 week or 10 days, every day they have been launching programs and collaborations. So congratulations to Jindal for such a spectacular performance during all these years, and best wishes to you for growing further. Regarding Deakin University, we all know that Deakin is a very good university. At AIU, we are in constant touch with the Australian High Commission. This Arch India program, which the Honorable Ambassador was just referring to, that has been supported by AIU because we have a network of more than 850 universities. We are also in touch with Australian High Commission with regard to credit mapping, because now in AIU, we are doing the equivalence of foreign degrees with the Indian degrees, and now we are shifting to credit approach, and a lot of credit mapping exercises taking place between the Indian and Australian universities. So congratulations to both of you. And this also, I should say that when the national education policy was launched in 2020, and then it was during the pandemic that policy was launched, so everybody was worried about its implementation. And most of us said that implementation, I mean, there are two aspects of implementation. One is at the government level, one at the university level, and the other 50-60% of the recommendations can be implemented by the universities at their own. So there also Jindal has taken a lead, because the policy itself promotes internationalization in a big way. I must say that this is the first policy in India which is laying so much of emphasis on internationalization of higher education. Like in the policy, we say that now the top 100 universities of the world can set up their campuses in India. Our universities can go and set up their campuses abroad. There's a possibility of joint degrees, which we were talking for a long time. So all the recommendations of NEP, especially with regard to joint degrees or the dual degrees, which this program is offering, they have been implemented by Jindal at the very first go. I mean, when rest of the universities are even preparing how to implement, they are thinking how to implement, Jindal has already implemented. So my compliment to Jindal. And this particular program, I think, will be of much, much benefit to the students, because in 4.5 years, they are getting 3 degrees, 1 Indian and 2 foreign, and 2 undergraduate and 1 master's. So I don't think they can ask for anything more. So it's sort of a dream come true for the students, that they are getting 3 degrees and the international exposure at a university like Deakin, in which they will be learning a lot. A lot of cross-cultural exchanges will be there. And not only Indian students, but even the students in the Deakin University will be benefited when Indian university students go there, and especially the students of Jindal, when they go there, it will be extremely beneficial for both the universities. So my compliments to both of you for this engagement, and I'm sure many more such collaborations we will be seeing from Jindal side and from Deakin side. And to Deakin, I'll say that please don't stop at Jindal. There are many more good universities in India. Please enter into collaborations with them also. They are all waiting, but then there are issues, because in India, internationalization is not picking up as fast as it should have been. And there are very few universities who are very good in internationalization. Jindal is one of them. But there are many, many more who are wanting to do internationalization, but they don't know how to contact a university, how to go about it, how to start it. So for that, AIU is coming up with something called Indian Network of International Educators, in which we are sort of networking all the universities of India, and so that the internationalization is promoted as a whole, as a holistic thing in India, and most of the universities are benefited out of internationalization. So when that network comes up fully, so I'm sure many, many foreign universities will be collaborating with Indian universities, and India will emerge as an affordable quality destination for the foreign students as well. So hoping for the best, and all the best to both of you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mittal, for those insights and all the words of appreciation. Thanks very much. Before I invite Professor V.S. Chauhan, I would like to very briefly introduce him. Dr. Virendra Singh Chauhan has served as the chairman of the National Assessment and Accreditation Council of India, or NAAC. Professor Chauhan is a Rhodes Scholar and an eminent Indian scientist who works in the fields of engineering and biotechnology. Among many other achievements, he is known for his contributions in the development of a recombinant vaccine for malaria. He was honored with Padma Shri by the Government of India, which is the 4th highest Indian civilian award. With that, I would like to invite Dr. Chauhan.
Thank you, Ashish. Deputy High Commissioner Iain, the two Vice-Chancellors, Raj and Iain, Ravneet, all friends which I see on the screen. Thank you very much for having me. I'm delighted to be among you. I'd written some bullet points to say what I thought I would try to share with you. All bullet points have really been washed away methodically by all of you, one by one. So I'm scratching my hairless head to say what hasn't been said so far. So I'm not going to start praising Deakin University of JGU. I think Pankaj has done a very good job of it. I think I'd rather, speak of something which both the countries are. I think Deputy High Commissioner mentioned about natural partnership. I've been in education, I taught, I've researched at universities, I've taught at IITs. I've always wondered, this seemingly natural partnership, why it hasn't resulted in so much more tangible, good quality partnership than what we see so far. And I haven't found the real answer. Maybe we are obsessed by Western countries or whatever. There may be many reasons. But I think we stand at a point where India is obviously in a state of growth, churning, changing, as Raj has already said, demographic layout here. But I dare say even Australia, in the past 1 year, that from where I see, and I'm not talking about education just now, has really begun to find a new identity. And that's quite obvious. That's going to be strong. So these partnership of two very strong democracy which share lots of interests, including something that doesn't get noticed, the belief in science. In many countries which are much better equipped, and you would think science will be celebrated more. I think these two countries have shown there's hardly any polarization on, let's say, for example, COVID-19 vaccination. Recognition of good quality science products which have come out of science. I think both countries are on the same page. Australian universities, some of them are well known here. In fact, many of them are well known. And in fact, I know of a couple of programs in which I was directly involved with the University of Monash, Queensland, and many others which already have tie-up with IITs at a PhD level. I've selected people for those programs. Those programs have become so very competitive. And by the time those who are selected by joint committees in India and Australia. I think the standards are fantastic. So I think this is the right time. But what we are celebrating today is so unique and unusual, because this goes much deeper than having collaboration at PhD level. So in that sense, Raj and Iain, you might have actually blazed a trail. And as Pankaj said, and I see the national education policy in which all of us were involved, this discussion took place for a long time. Most things in India happen slowly, but they happen surely. And what we are celebrating today is something that's going to go a very long way. I think students will benefit. I'm not too worried whether they get 3 degrees or 4 degrees. I think they'll get outstanding value of education. And I've always said that the skilling and exposure are all very well. I think they'll get exposure to very good quality education in these 2 institutions. But these 2 institutions share the value. I just heard Deakin University itself was established with an eye on social responsibility. I think that's very, very crucial. I think when we educate, when you talk about jobs, when you talk about MBAs and BComs and so on, I think we mustn't take our gaze off the fact that we are educating young people so they go and serve the society. It is the education purpose, to my mind, is really to train people to serve society. In that sense, I think, again, this is a very good wedding. Probably that point was missed by other speakers. The parents and students, of course, will be delighted. They will get very good value for money. They'll get good education. But I think faculty in both the places will also benefit enormously. I hope the next step for this romance and now to engagement and finally to marriage would be a high quality research which will take place between JGU and Deakin University. I think that's when you complete the whole story. You've got to teach people well, you've got to educate them, but you also need to create good quality knowledge and then find a way how we will disseminate that knowledge. And I think that's a very exciting possibility. So I really commend, I've known Raj for a very long time, much longer than many of you have known, and is an unstoppable force. I see in Iain also, I see from little that I heard his speech, these are unstoppable forces, but these forces are very constructive forces. And so I'm delighted that this has happened. I just hope this is the beginning of many, many more things to happen between these universities. And I dare say, as the Deputy High Commissioner said, a larger, broader collaboration between Indian University and Australian University. I have personal knowledge of the kind of strength in science Australia has. We've collaborated with Walter and Eliza Hall Institute, at Melbourne, the world-class immunology, for example, that takes place in Australia, world-class agriculture sciences that happens in and I was very happy to hear at the end of BCom and MBA, social sciences. I think we mustn't take our eyes off something that the whole world has it's really dropping off from our agenda, is a good quality teaching and research in social sciences. We can go ahead with science and commerce and management, but it should never be at the cost of creating knowledge in social sciences, because that's what education is all about. How do you deal with the society? How do you serve the society? So finally, I'll just say that I'm absolutely delighted and that this is happening. And Raj and Iain, I hope this is the beginning of something even much bigger. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chauhan, for those incisive remarks. Your address was truly special. Thank you very much. We come to the last segment of this event. I would like to invite my colleague, Professor Sridhar Patnaik, who's a professor of law at Jindal Global Law School and registrar of JGU. to deliver the vote of address.
Thank you very much, Ashish. First of all, congratulations to Deakin University and OP Jindal Global University for this very momentous occasion and for the signing of the MOU. His Excellency, Mr. Iain Biggs, Deputy High Commissioner of Australia to India, Professor Pankaj Mittal, Secretary General, Association of Indian Universities, Professor V.S. Chauhan, former Chairperson, UGC and NAAC, our dearest Vice-Chancellors, Professor Kumar and Professor Iain Martin, and colleagues from OP Jindal Global University and Deakin University, friends who joined us at this program virtually, and those who are watching us live. Very good evening, everyone. It's indeed an honor for me to present here this evening to formally propose a vote of thanks on the occasion of the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding on the education partnership between the two universities, the Deakin and the OP Jindal Global University. And this is going to be a stepping stone to provide more global opportunities to students. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to everyone whose dedication and efforts have contributed to the finalization of the MOU. And in particular, I would like to thank Professor C. Rajkumar, Professor Iain Martin, Ms. Ravneet Pahwa, Professor Ashish Bharadwaj, and Professor Shaun Starr, whose efforts have made the signing of this MOU a reality. I also take this opportunity to express our sincere gratitude to His Excellency Mr. Iain Biggs, Professor Pankaj Mittal, and Professor V.S. Chauhan for gracing the signing ceremony and for their crucial role in building the India-Australia higher education strategic relationship. We sincerely thank them for accepting the invitation to address the JGU and Deakin community at this ceremony and for sharing their thoughts on the need and necessity of increasing international academic collaboration in areas of common interest between the two universities, and of course between Deakin and even other universities in India, as rightly remarked by Professor Pankaj Mittal, Secretary General of the Association of Indian Universities. As most of you are aware, and for the viewers, I would like to share with you that the OP Jindal Global University has enjoyed a long-standing friendship with its counterparts in Australia, and in the last 12 years since the university's establishment, many programs of cooperation have been conducted. Just last evening, we celebrated our 12th anniversary, and we are so glad that soon after the 12th anniversary, we have signed this very historic and a strategic partnership with Deakin University. And it's worthy to mention the role of the Center for India-Australia Studies at the JGU, about which my colleague, Professor Shaun Starr, had made a brief reference to and introduced the activities of the center. It is the first and the only center with a focus on India-Australia bilateral relationship that is embedded in an Indian higher education institution, and that was inaugurated in 2016. I want to take this opportunity to extend my gratitude to the team of the Center for India-Australia Studies, led by Shaun and other colleagues, which includes Professor Laknath. Without their sheer efforts, this partnership wouldn't have been possible. The MOU with Deakin University, I'm sure, will further commit us to working together more closely towards our common goal, the pursuit of internationalization of higher education, and it promises an education experience that blends the best of both institutions and will prove to be a milestone in the Indian higher education system. And it is also so very much in consonance with the national education policy, which our speakers had referred to just brief moments ago. And I'm sure that the MOU will offer innovative models of global education, training, and research for students in India. And this one-of-a-kind model is also a boost to education in India and a big spur to the ongoing bilateral India-Australia relations and the relevant initiatives. On behalf of my own self and the entire JGU community, I also take a moment to express our deep sense of gratitude to our visionary Vice-Chancellor, Professor Rajkumar, for his leadership and singular commitment to the idea and functioning of JGU, which today stands as one of the topmost universities in the country, if I may say so, with all due immodesty. And there are many more accolades, which I'm sure we are going to achieve in years to come and set standards for higher education in India and around the world. In closing, I would like to say that I'm confident that through our efforts and commitment, we will be able to develop stronger relationships between India and Australia. And I would like to take this opportunity to assure everyone that the OP Jindal Global University will do whatever it can in order to provide a successful implementation of this Memorandum of Understanding. Thank you all once again, and congratulations.
Thanks very much, Sridhar, for that vote of thanks. I believe Dr. Chauhan has a comment to make. Dr. Chauhan, please go ahead. You'll have to unmute yourself, sir.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
I sorry to keep you waiting. I had promised that we won't let this evening go without mention of cricket. Very briefly, the founder of JGU is a great sportsman himself, and he actually owns a team in IPL, which has Steve Smith as the opener now. So I think, Raj and Iain, I would say that you do all this. You have enough land. I think Deakin University should facilitate to send some very good coaches. Haryana is very good in boxing and wrestling. You can teach them wrestling and boxing. And we can have a very good cricket academy here. And also send us some good swimmer coaches, because JGU has has an Olympic-sized swimming pool. So education is fine. I think sports mustn't be. And Australia is a great sporting nation. I mean, education is fine, but Australia is a tremendously important, strong sporting nation. So please don't forget the next MOU should be around cricket and swimming and boxing and wrestling. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chauhan. That is indeed on the cards, just to let you know. I'll take a brief moment to thank, other than the wonderful Ravneet and our colleagues David and Priyanka in the Deakin office, the New Delhi office, the contribution of Shirley and Michael from Deakin University, and Professors Colin Higgins, John Bolton and John Maloney from Deakin, who spent a lot of time with us doing a lot of back-end administrative and academic work, which will be very important for all the students who become part of this partnership. So thank you very much. This could not have been possible without your efforts, ideas, and a lot of patience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. With this, we close the event now. Please enjoy your evening and have a good weekend.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.